Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
Sound like a really stupid ass dog. Oh god, this is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we take whatever artists we're doing, we listen to all their records, we rank them from worst to best. But before we do that, we do our 6 Degrees with Tom DeLonge. If you don't know what that is, we take it's like 6 Degrees with Kevin Bacon, but with Tom, with the artist of the week. So that's what we do. So have fun with that, because we do. Go to Apple Podcasts, go rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. That's our handle everywhere on the social medias. Or send us or leave us a voicemail. Our phone number is 503-893-5307. You can text us on there as well. You know, tell us how much you love us, because that's what we want. We need validation here on the pod. So, Jeff, let's just jump right into it. Let's get into our 6 Degrees of Tom DeLonge. What do you got? Go.
I only have one.
Okay, I got 2, so I guess I can go first.
I have one because originally I wanted to do one for everybody, but Lennon, it directed me too fast to the Lennon Claypool delirium, and that's not fun. And then Paul McCartney is still doing stuff, kind of. That wasn't fun. And then I don't give 2 shits about Ringo Starr, so I only have one, and it's George Harrison. So go and do one of your other ones.
Yeah, I did. I have I just have 2, and we start with the least favorite members of the band. We'll start with Ringo. So we start with Ringo. He's married to actress Barbara Bach. Barbara Bach was a Bond girl in The Spy Who Loved Me, the James Bond movie, Spy Who Loved Me. If you didn't know, Pierce Brosnan was also James Bond in different movies, but he was a James Bond. He was also in a 2014 movie called Some Kind of Beautiful with Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba was in Idle Hands.
Idle Hands.
Tom DeLonge was in Idle Hands as well. So there you go. Kept it all in the movies on that one.
Ringo was also in this movie called like a Pop Superstar. It was like a joke movie with Andy Samberg.
Really?
Yeah, it was called. I think it was called Pop Star. It was called Pop Star. Never Stop. Right? Never Stop, Never Stopping is what it was called.
Oh, so stupid.
And interesting about that I want. I feel like my things are loud too. The interesting about that movie was that starred Andy Samberg and Tim Meadows, who later on would be Buddy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine again when Tim Meadows was a cannibal.
Yeah, it's true. Well, they were also both on SNL.
Yeah, but that's not fun, Tyler.
Not together though, but they were both on it.
So so mine's George Harrison. George Harrison, this is also super cheap and actually pretty pathetic. George Harrison was friends with Ravi Shankar. Ravi Shankar's daughter, Norah Jones. Norah Jones collabed with Billy Joe Armstrong. Riding in vans with boys. Billy Joe.
There you go. That's a good one, though. I like that one.
Dude, all 4 of these were like super easy. And then I kept like adding them. I was like, that's fucking lame. And I would delete it. And then I never got anything else. I never came around to it. It was really easy.
Yeah, I figured I didn't even bother with Paul or John because I figured it would be too easy, especially with the Lennon Claypool. I mean, you could connect so many artists with Les Claypool. Yeah. Super easy. So this next one, we start with George Harrison. His son, Danny Harrison, was in a band or is in a band called Fistful of Mercy with singer-songwriter Ben Harper. Ben Harper sang on a song for a band called Ringside on the song Lost Days. I've never heard of Ringside, but they sound really bad. But yeah, like I said, he sang on a song called Lost Days on that particular record. Josh Freese also played drums on that record, that Ringside record. And then Josh Freese to Blink, because Josh played with Blink for a while, for a Australian tour. So there you go. That's my second one. George Harrison to Tom DeLonge.
What was that band
That was
name?
the toughest one for me. What?
With Ben Harper? Are we talking about the Ben, like the reggae soul funk singer Ben Harper?
I guess. I don't know. I only know one Ben Harper, and I don't know any of his songs.
Ben Harper from Yellow Card. Hello.
Oh, no, not that. No, like the singer-songwriter Ben Harper.
Oh, like the good Ben Harper.
I guess, yeah, the good
Not
Ben
that
Harper.
he's the bad Ben Harper, but okay.
Yeah, the band is called Fistful of Mercy.
Fistful of Mercy. I'm gonna check that out.
I'd never heard of him, but yeah. So there you go. That's my second one. So let's just jump into the rankings. Let's get into that.
Okay, here we go.
Some of these I'm sure we're gonna get through pretty quick, like
Let's,
the Rolling Stones. So
yeah, there's 13, right?
yeah, 13.
Okay, well, like the middle ground is where I don't really care to talk about too much, but for sure, like
Yeah,
my
same here.
bottom 3, I feel need something, and then like my top 4 or 5 would need some explaining. But the middle ground, I don't give a fuck about.
Okay.
So,
what do you got?
you want me to go? Or you want to go? You want me to go?
No, you
I
go.
talk
You always
You
go
talk
first. No,
I'll talk first.
That's gonna go on the no-no list.
No.
Keep it up. It's gonna go on the no-no list.
Okay. This is not like a bad album. I just don't understand why it's even like an album. But Yellow Submarine.
Yes.
1969. Why is this even a thing? It's just dumb. Half of these songs are just straight orchestral arrangements for the movie, and the other half of the half are just re-releases. It's dumb. It's dumb. Like, this is fucking stupid. It just makes no sense. Like, why would you're bleeding at this point? Like, you're bleeding for stuff to come out, and I thought this was dumb, and I was very irritated by it because I've already heard half of the half songs, and the other ones completely out of context were completely meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
The orchestral parts, just even given that they are just orchestral arrangements for a movie, I still thought they were just fucking boring.
It's clearly a cash grab. So, all right. So I assume you have no banger off this one, right?
There's only I think there's only two albums off of this entire list that I don't have a banger from. Maybe even that's only one. Maybe two tops. Maybe one, possibly.
So I think the worst Beatles record is the White Album. That is number 13. Dude, I can't stand this record. The 10th record. People love it. I don't get it. It's way too long. The band hated each other. Ringo had quit the band for like almost a month, and it's a bad record. There's nothing. The only song I've ever really liked is "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and even that song is pretty cheesy. So that would be my biggest banger. I think it's a trash album. I don't like it.
Trash album.
Yeah,
wow.
I don't like it.
Damn.
I know you don't like the White Album either. It's probably your number 12.
Well.
So why do you hate the White Album? Because I know it's your number 12.
Yeah, it's my number 12. Dude, it's so fucking long. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like the Blonde on Blonde from Dylan. Like, this was so long. How long was this? Like 7 hours at least? Probably like 9?
Yeah. I think it was like 9 hours.
Dude, This is unbelievable. And it's not even chock full of bangers. It's like all over the place. Which is kind of cool in concept and theory. Like they do it again later on in a different album where they just have a bunch of different genres that they've already done previously and they're throwing it on here. But because this is so long, this was so hard to get through. And if it wasn't for the fact that Yellow Submarine shouldn't even be an album, the White Album would be the worst.
Yeah.
But Helter Skelter, man, that's a cool song.
Oh, dude, I hate that song.
That's one of the few
Helter
times.
Skelter.
It's one of the few times, and they've only done it like 3 times, where they can actually pull off a harder sound. And
but it's still not a good song.
It's
just because you're playing a little bit faster with a little bit more, overdrive, doesn't make it a good song.
I thought it. I mean, I didn't playlist it, but I thought that was like the best out of all of them. But it's cool, and it had been a long, long time since I listened to it, and the name is cool, and it's fine.
So my number 11 is Yellow Submarine. For the exact same reasons that you're saying it shouldn't really be a record. But some of the songs, the actual Beatles songs, not the George Martin songs, they're fine. They're good. They're whatever. It shouldn't be an album. I guess if I had to pick a song, it'd be All Together Now. But whatever. It's not. I don't think we need to talk about it anymore. Honestly, we touched upon all of it, or what should be said about it. So What's your number 11?
Number 11. This is the last of what I think is bad,
Okay.
and that is Hard Day's Night, their third album.
Okay.
Man, this is. If it wasn't for the fact that the White Album was so hard to get through because of its length, and I mean, Yellow Submarine wasn't hard to get through. It seemed dumb. But Hard Day's Night is just not good. It is not a good album. I didn't enjoy it at all. I think the songs here are way too similar to each other, and it seemed to be like the last album of this specific bad pop rock shit. Irritating.
Yeah. Okay. I can understand that.
I do like Can't Buy Me Love. I think it's easily recognizable, and it's hard to not pick some of the bangers, and because they're the Beatles, man. Like, they've been around for so fucking long, and they're just so ingrained in our culture, even in America. Like, they're the fucking Beatles, right? They're like the biggest band that's ever been on Earth because they're the Beatles, and it's fact. But Can't Buy Me Love is cool. I dig that song. It's this era of the Beatles, and it's fine. But dude, Hard Day's Night was just not a good album.
Okay, all right, that's fair. So my number 11 is With the Beatles, their second record. I mean, this album it's just so clearly an extension of the first. There's just no real reason for it. I mean, really, the first 3-4 records, they're all pretty much the same, and they're all clumped together right here in my rankings. The first 4 records. There's nothing that exciting except for the song Till There Was You, because that was more of an acoustic jam, and it was just a nice relief from just the Motown rock and roll sound that they were doing. And like Paul's voice is very melancholy on this one. It was just a nice change in pace on the record, but not a bad record. It's just so much. There's 4 records of this. So it's like the first 5 or 6 Rolling Stones records. You only need to listen to one of them.
That's true.
And Deep Purple the same way too. Like the first 3 records, they all sound the same. So not bad, but all the same. So that's my number 11. What do you got for number 10?
I fucked it up. Is Meet the Beatles a different album? Or is that with was I supposed to do
I think you did
the Beatles?
I think you did maybe did you do
With the Beatles, Meet the Beatles? I wrote that as their
Did
second
you do the
album.
US version?
That's no. So Meet the Beatles was supposed to be With the Beatles because you said, okay, I got it.
Okay, so you fucked up.
Yeah, I just got to change the one word. It's not Meet the Beatles. It's With the Beatles. That's fine.
Yes, it's fine.
It's not that big. You make it
so
like
that's
a big
your number
deal.
10.
It's not a big deal. No, my number 10 is Beatles for Sale.
Okay.
Beatles for Sale.
Yeah.
That's their 4th album, 64. Mm-hmm. I will say they just don't do rock and roll well. They don't do it well. Sure. When they're trying to do rock and roll, it's I don't want to say like it's an American thing, but because they got it later than America did it, it's hard. It's hard, as the Bostons would say. You guys are hard. We're tough. We're hard. They just they don't do it well. They don't sound hard, and that's like the edge. Even like Little Richard, like all these guys, they have that hard edge. They don't do it well, and that's what I don't like. But they do a lot of the rock and roll songs justice. They do the do. They do it justice. And I keep saying the do part. They are doing these songs justice. And but like realistically, they're just pandering to the West. This is their 4th album. It's Beatlemania is starting to take off, and they're covering a bunch of rock and roll U.S. stuff so that way they can sell a bunch of records. And they did. This eventually sold 1 million copies. It's one of their fucking best selling albums, and it's because it has a lot of U.S. rock and roll covers on it.
And I mean, it's also their 4th record in like 3 years. So.
That's annoying
that
too.
It's
just the 2 records a year thing. Fucking
I mean,
stupid.
in the end, it was 13 records in 8 years, which is wild. I mean, that's insane to me. But whatever.
No, good. So that's all right. Like Omar.
Yeah, no, you're right.
If I had to choose, I guess it would be "Word of Love." That's the Buddy Holly cover. Mm-hmm. But I mean,
all the songs, really they kind of are just kind of bleed together on this one. That's
They're-
how I view it.
They don't do
Or
rock
view
and
these
roll
4
well.
records.
They're not a rock and roll band. They're something different. Not saying they're like a bad band in their own way. They're not a rock and roll band, so they don't do it well.
You're right. So then my number 10 is Please Please Me, their first record. I like this record. I think it's a good record. It's definitely representative of those 2 or 3 years where they were putting out all this shit. But it's good. It's fun. I had a good time listening to it. But then, once you get into the second, third, and fourth record, you're like, okay, I'm fucking over this shit. But no, Please Please Me it's a good debut record for them, and this is the epitome of Beatlemania right here. I mean, this is it's just so poppy and cheesy and like you said, they didn't do rock and roll that well, but whatever. My favorite song, I guess if I had to pick one, it would be A Taste of Honey, just because it's more of an acoustic song, no percussion. I feel like on these earlier records, any song that had less percussion was better, because Ringo, man, he's a boring drummer. Fucking boring drummer.
Well,
not a bad drummer, but he's just so
like that's
boring.
yeah, that's what they were bred to do.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
You were talking about Ringo, how much you hate Ringo, which is fine.
I don't
because
hate
everybody
Ringo.
hates
It's
Ringo.
just
Everybody hates Ringo. Nobody likes Ringo. You talk to nobody on the face of this earth that has ever existed on this earth. You ask them who their favorite Beatle was, and they said Ringo. Nobody, not one
unless
person.
they're just trying to be fucking cool or different.
No, if they're trying to be cool, they'd say George Harrison. If they're trying to be different, they would say like fucking George Martin or some fucking shit. Nobody ever said Ringo.
Or fucking like Pete Best, who played in the band for like a month.
I didn't even know how many Beatles there were before like the main 4 Beatles until this week.
I
That
thought
was
there was like
shocking.
I always knew that Ringo wasn't an original member, but I didn't know there were 3 drummers before him. I thought there was 1.
And then one of them like fucking died. Like that.
No, the
dude.
bass player died. The bass player died. And then
I
that's when
had
Paul
no
went to
idea.
bass. Yeah, no idea. I did not know that. Imagine how different the band could have been had he not died and then Paul continued to play guitar rather than bass. It would have changed the entire dynamic of the band, I'm sure.
There would have been another head in the game, at least for songwriting purposes. But I don't know, whatever. Ringo's nobody's favorite. Not even Ringo likes Ringo.
Okay, so what's your number 9?
And why would you even change your name to Ringo? Richard Starkey's a fucking dope name.
That is a cool name, yeah.
Like, dude, Ringo's worse.
Ringo Starr.
Stupid. Richard Starkey's fucking rad. That's some like Boogie Nights shit. That's such a cool name.
It is cool.
Like Dirk Diggler, Richard Starkey. Oh, it's a good name. All right, it's my number 9. My number 9 is Let It Be. Let It Be.
Ah, yes, Let It Be.
This is I felt like this was almost like a full circle to their early days. They it's just a little more nuanced. Overall, it's just more of the Beatles in their early pop driven years, but just older. There wasn't a whole lot here I thought that was great. It wasn't really bad, but my favorite song is Let It Be. Dude, in all of its cheesiness and like pomp and circumstance, it is a damn well written song. It's just like the base sauce for everyone after to create a great anthemic sing-along pizza. It is fucking
sing-along pizza.
Dude, it is just like wow. That is
wow.
Whenever you want to write anything where you think is going to be like an anthem, like that's what you base it off. This is your template. And they wrote a perfect song. And I don't like it that much, but it is a perfect song. It is.
I mean, it's bottom 5 for them.
Man, it is songs.
Yeah, for them.
Okay. Now you're just being like cool guy.
You got
totally
Let It
being
Be.
cool
You
guy.
got Hey Jude. You got Back in the USSR.
No, you cannot put Let It Be next to Hey Jude. Get out of here.
I just did.
No, that's wrong. You're being a cool guy. Don't be a cool guy. Just accept the song.
Cool.
Accept the song that the song is a really, really well written song that even today people strive to write ballads like that. And it's just,
ballads aren't that good.
They're not that good, but damn, this is like the best of them. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, they've inspired a lot of people.
It's a slow burn, man. It is a slow burn in that ballad, and is just what you want.
It's not what I want. Not what I want.
Oh, all right.
So my number 9 is A Hard Day's Night, third record. I mean, this is I have nothing really more to say. This is pretty much like their first two records, a little bit more folk thrown in there. They dabble in some other genres, maybe a little bit of country, but it's barely noticeable. If I had to pick a song, Things We Said Today, because it is a little bit more country inspired. But other than that, I mean, this album just goes hand in hand with the first two. So that's all I got for that.
Okay.
What do you got for 8?
Please Please Me. These will be quick because I don't really care about any of these that much. Please Please Me. This is their first record. There's so much 50s rock and roll here. There's a lot. The best part, I guess rather like the most interesting part of this one are the harms. There's like that's something a little bit new. Like a lot of 50s rock, they didn't harm. It was just it was rock and roll. It was something new. It was jarring. It was fucking rock and roll. It was cool. But the Beatles harmed. They played rock and roll music, but it was pop. And I don't think England got, like, they were always kind of a little bit late to like the game as far as what's popular, booming in the music industry, and rock and roll starting in like the early 50s. England didn't really get it till like the early 60s, and it was like later on. Mm-hmm. So they had a little bit more time to craft, to I don't know, to perfect the sound. And that's what's going on here. There's a lot of rock and roll influence here, and there's a lot of boardwalk.
Sound. That's the thing.
Of the rock and roll?
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, yes, they did with like Zeppelin and the British invasion.
Oh, I thought you meant the Beatles. I'm sorry. I thought you meant the Beatles.
Oh no, that's like overall.
Okay, overall. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
Overall. I mean,
I was going to say, because you completely just contradicted yourself.
No. The Beatles.
Call you out on that.
The Beatles brought rock music. I think the Beatles brought rock and roll music to the masses in Europe, or I shouldn't say Europe, but like England specifically.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't do it well. They're a bunch of fucking kids, dude. They early 20s, late teens. Like, they know what the fuck they're doing. And I don't know. It's just very sloppy. It's very processed. It's very fake. It's very boardwalk sounding, but it's still cool. But like, it reminds me of like, oh damn, this was a good album. Now I want to listen to like American rock and roll from this era. I want to listen to American boardwalk rock and roll from this era. But my favorite here is Love Me Do, and that's only because Lennon comes in hard with the harmonica, and it's loud, and it's fucking beautiful.
It's so annoying.
It's almost like
the harmonica.
Dude, it's almost like when I first heard this as a kid, I was like, dude, what instrument is that? Is that some kind of weird like bassoon or a trumpet? Like, what is going on here? Because it's so loud.
Yeah.
It's crazy loud in the mix. Like, why do they put it that loud? Love it though. Love it.
To be annoying like Bob Dylan.
Easy.
All right. So my number 8 is Beatles for Sale, their fourth record. I think I really only rank this as high as it is because you can see them finally starting to move out of the rock and roll Motown stuff, and it was nice because you kind of see them dabble more and more in other genres and progress a bit. And my favorite song is Honey Don't. It's a bit more folky and has a great lead guitar in it, which Harrison or Lennon never really did that much early in the early records. So hearing that like higher in the mix was really nice, and it was a nice break from everything else we heard prior. But
that is true.
Yeah, that's my number 8 is Beatles for Sale. So let's get into I guess some of the better stuff. That doesn't all sound the same.
I'm still not there yet. My top 5 is stuff that I think is unique, is great, is good. My 7 and 6 are still, that's okay.
My top 6 are the ones that I go back to. So
okay.
So what do you got for number 7?
With the Beatles. I previously named it as Meet the Beatles, but with the Beatles. Yes. Meet the Beatles, with the Beatles, doesn't matter. We're with the Beatles.
Meet the Beatles is probably like a U.S. release. That's what you...
It's possible. Yeah. Sound-wise, it's almost identical to the first. I like this one a tad bit more because of the amount of like R&B or Motown covers that they did. And they tried to incorporate those sounds, which I thought was a noble attempt. And I mean, dude, like Motown in this era is just, it's unstoppable. It's so good. And so to even try and do it is just, it's admirable. I dig it.
But it's just never going to work.
It's not going to work because it's too new. Like you know, you've only listened to these albums for a couple years rather than a couple decades. So you haven't had proper time to soak it in and really dive into the nuance of them and the culture of it, I guess. But my banger here was Till There Was You. You mentioned it earlier. Till There Was You. Dude, I'm a sucker for show tunes. I didn't even know they did this song. Are you fucking kidding me? This is from the Music Man. Like,
was it really?
Yes. Yeah. This is Meredith Wilson, man. I was all over this. I was like, wait a second. I'm thinking in my mind. Right, doing most of my thinking. I was like, wait a second. So. Is this from the Music Man? And then I knew every word, and I was all for it. That's probably why this is so high for me. But yeah, I was stoked. I was excited. I might even, like, if I ever saw this for fairly cheap, I'm gonna look through all my backlog stuff too that I didn't sell at the record show to see if this is in there, to see if I pull this out so I can listen to that one song. Number 7.
That's your number 7. Okay. So my number 7 is Let It Be, their 13th record, their last record. This was, like you said, it's a little bit disjointed. It has cool parts, but it's not like a good cohesive record. It was, I mean, you just know the band didn't like each other, and it was almost like a bunch, much like the White album. It was like just like a combination of solo songs. Like didn't feel like there's a lot of collaboration, and it's not a terrible record, but I don't know. Just there's so many better things that the Beatles have done, and
that's true.
The song on here that I really like is For You Blue. It's just a bit more experimental for this particular record. Obviously not the craziest thing that they've ever done, but I mean, on this record, it was kind of out there. So just the sounds, the kind of broke up the monotony of the record, I guess, in a way. And there's just there's a part in the song that just, I don't know if it's a mellotron or what it is, but it just sounds so cool. And I just don't know what it is, but it's probably something cool like that. But, what?
Are you just going to go through all their biggest things and not put like one of their most popular songs there because you think like you're some Beatles head or something?
No, coming up, there's some shit that is their biggest song. So,
well, as far as their biggest,
do you want me to say "Let It Be"? Because "Let It Be" is like bottom 5.
I don't.
Beatles.
I mean, I think that you're. Why?
What do you want me to do?
If you would put in the show notes as don't try so hard or try harder, I guess I would have adjusted my rankings accordingly, I guess, because I don't know, that's what we were doing. But as far as all of their first 4 albums are concerned, you even put one of like their biggest songs, and their biggest songs, yeah, they've been played 1,000 times per day over the past 100 years, but they're still really good.
Yeah,
but you haven't said one of them, and I think that maybe I didn't know we were supposed to lean to our outside of like the biggest hits by them. Next time, let me know. That's all I'm saying. Next time, let me know. Next time,
I thought you knew that there's no restrictions. I thought you would have known, considering we've been doing this pod for 5 years now.
Well, it seems like there are restrictions because the restriction now is to not pick like popular songs. But I didn't know that was a restriction. Next time, just put in the show notes.
We also haven't gone through all the records yet, so you're kind of preemptively having a meltdown.
Well, so five of the 6 are the same thus far. It's just you haven't said one I guess quote unquote popular song. I
don't need to.
I didn't know we were doing that. I just didn't know we were doing that. Had I known, I would have done it also, like you have.
I mean, if you had better taste,
we're not picking popular songs.
If you had better taste, you wouldn't have chosen those songs.
I'm just saying. Next time in the show notes,
and I'm just saying,
just write don't in parentheses. Put don't pick popular songs, and that's what I'll do. That's fine. It's not a big deal.
Well, I shouldn't have to do that. Well,
you're doing it, and it would have been nice to know that's what our theme of the week is to pretend not to like the popular songs, but that's okay.
I don't know why you're so upset. That's okay.
That's all right.
I guess I don't need to know.
You don't need to know, because if you don't know, then fuck. If you have to ask, you'll never know. That type of thing.
This is a stupid fucking
You
conversation.
see Rugrats? Yeah, if you have to ask, you'll never know. Science. God. I follow science.
You do, yes, of course.
So 6 things. 6 is help. help. 1965. That's a long time ago.
It is.
Even though a lot of this seems like straightforward pop music of this era, there's a lot of like somber undertones I'm getting from this, and they leave me feeling happy but a little bit off. Yesterday is like is a good example. Yesterday is a cool song that's so easy to get into. It's got a great melody. I know it's popular, so it's not your favorite. It's got a great melody to it. It's a really good song, but there's something about that song that just kind of makes you feel like, dude, I feel good, but at the same time, I just feel kind of like, and I think that's what's great about this album, and I dig that. Mm-hmm. But my favorite song is, since we're doing the UK release of Rubber Soul, my favorite song here is "I've Just Seen a Face."
Okay. Yes.
And I didn't know at the time that this was a Rubber Soul song, also kind of a release, but I wrote that this was a Rubber Soul sounding like song. It's a good example of what a like driving pop song that also uses some kind of like minor chords to help keep those somber undertones. And if you take this song as a completely absent thing from Rubber Soul, and let's just say this was only a help song, like this is a true turning point in the band. This song specifically is a true turning point in the band, and they are now getting into the Rubber Soul era. And like Rubber Soul on its own as an album is a turning point, but this song specifically, if we're taking that as a help song and not a Rubber Soul song, then that song specifically is a turning point for the band growing into something else. They don't know what yet, and Rubber Soul is a great album because they don't know what they're turning into. They just know that they're changing. And that song that's why that song is so fucking good, is because they're changing. They don't know what they're doing, but they know that they need to change, and it's happening.
Yep.
Yesterday's a good song.
And it's about time, right? After like 3 years, they finally start to evolve.
Yeah, after not barely 3 years, seriously.
5 albums deep in
25 years later, some bands are still doing the same shit.
Oh, God. Okay, so my number 6 is also Help, their 5th record. This is finally when things get exciting for the band, and I think this is a solid record. I never really listened to it until I got it on vinyl, like maybe 8 or 9 months ago, and I was just kind of blown away at how good it was. Like, it still had the rock and roll thing from the early records, but there was definitely a significant progression from that, and it's definitely the bridge between the old style and Rubber Soul, like you were saying. And I've Just Seen His Face is that's the best song on the record. It is. It's so upbeat. It is, but it's upbeat but melancholy at the same time. Just the harms and everything. It's such a unique song, and I don't feel like any band was really doing this at the time, or at least like pushing their own boundaries like they were at the time. And it's a solid song. Solid record. Even the title track "Help" is a really, really good song too. That's a fantastic song. So I don't care what you say. That's better than Let It Be.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna pull a page out of your playbook and say that "Help." That song is so annoying. I fucking can't stand that song.
Oh, but you like Let It Be and you like Hey Jude and all that garbage.
I don't like Hey Jude, but I recognize that Let It Be for sure is a well written song. Absolutely. I'm not born on Jupiter. Are boys born on Jupiter so they can get more stupider? Is that what's going on here with you?
Fucking idiot.
Dude, our top 5 at least are in the same realm. That's actually our top
true,
6.
Huh?
Our top 6 were in the same realm.
Yeah, look at that.
That's crazy.
All right, so what do you got for number 5?
Number 5 is Abbey Road. This is there's 2 records here in my top 5, I guess, that were completely surprising to me. The first one is Abbey Road, and it's slow getting more beers. Sucking them down tonight, huh?
That's only the first
one.
Exactly. There's some cool songs on here. Overall, I was a little uninterested, but it seems like they were trying to recap or kind of sum up everything that they've done, which is ambitious. Like it's ambitious, and that's why I ranked it so high, because even though I think it's not like a great album, it and it's kind of all over the place. it's fun to listen to. It's fun to be like, holy fuck, you guys just like recapped your entire career over one album, good or bad. You just did it. And I thought that was respectable, and I thought that was fucking dope, and I liked it. So with that said, I Want You, She's So Heavy. You brought this like a month or two ago, I think.
Yeah, brought it to the pod.
Yeah, this was my favorite. Much like the name suggests, it's heavy. It's got that. I think I said like almost like verbatim what I'm about to say anyway. But I think it's got like this House of Rising Sun bluesy vibage to it. It's weird. It's cool. It's dark. It's still poppy. It's accessible.
But it also kind of drones on.
Yeah, that's
because it's a long song, but it's like you're kind of like hearing the same thing over and over again. It almost reminds me like a little bit of like what Jimmy World were doing on like Goodbye Sky Harbor, where it's just like the same thing trudging along the entire time, but you never get bored of it. I don't know, for whatever reason you don't get bored of it, but it's so captivating. I love it. So.
Because this album is chock full of songs that are poppy, that are and again, like I think like even our ratings wise, I might even rate Help higher than this, but because of just like the ambition behind Abbey Road, I put this higher because I respect it more. I think it's cool. It's a good overall, and I think because this album is a good balance of weird, eclectic, heavy stuff like I Want You, but then also very, very much bubblegum pop like they've been doing in their first 4 records. But to put them both on an album and then sequence it well enough to where it's not annoying and it all flows, it's just a good record. Like all through and through, it's a good record. It's ambitious, and I respect it.
Okay.
I never thought I'd say that.
All right. So my number 5 is also Abbey Road. This one, I agree with you. This is the perfect combination of everything, or perfect recap of their very short-lived career. And honestly, they could have Let It Be should have never been an album. This should have been their final record, and that was it. There should have never been anything after this. And it sucks that they put Let It Be out after this, and the fact also that the White Album was before this, and it's sandwiched in between those two kind of bad records. Sucks, because Abbey Road it picks the cool parts out of all their records and just throws it into one. And like you said, it's sequenced really well. It's very cohesive. It's a good record to listen to. I think it's a fantastic record. My favorite song, I Want You, She's So Heavy, that one. And of course, Come Together. One of the coolest sounding songs, I think, of all time. Just the percussion in that, and that bass line is so good, and how it just like trudges along. I love Come Together as well. I've always loved that song. So.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the most recognizable intros in like all of music, right?
It's that bass line. Oh my god! And then, have you ever heard do you remember the Across the Universe movie from like 15 years ago? Do you remember Joe Cocker did a cover of Come Together?
Yeah, I do.
That was good. That was fucking good too. Ah, man.
That's like right out of high school, huh? Like 2006, 7, 8.
Yeah, I think it was 5 or 6, yeah. Yeah. Movie was whatever, but, some of the songs on there were great. Let's see here. So what do you got for number 4?
Okay, number 4. Revolver. Hey, Revolver. Yeah, this one, 1966. I don't have a whole lot of negative things to say. I think it's a perfect middle ground between Rubber Soul and Sgt. Pepper's. There's still a lot of pop songs here buried under like wild instrumentations. I even enjoy like Yellow Submarine now more than I have ever done. Besides when I was like 12, but because I just haven't heard it in a long time. It's a cool song. I dig it, but I think Revolver is like it's lost because right after is Sgt. Pepper's, and like Revolver can't compete with Sgt. Pepper's, but it also can't really compete with Rubber Soul because Rubber Soul, there would be no Revolver without Rubber Soul. So it's kind of like that middle ground, and it's not entirely fair because it's a great album on its own, but it's sandwiched between 2 other better albums. So again, I don't have a lot of negative things to say. It's just obviously the other ones I think are better. But Tomorrow Never Knows. That's like my new favorite song of this
So
week.
good.
It's so bizarre. Honestly, dude, it reminds me of something like Radiohead, and it's like what Radiohead stole from the Beatles and extrapolated on in their career. There's so much Radiohead in this song. It blew my mind. I could not even believe it. Loved it.
Great song, man. Fucking fantastic song. I can't believe one of these records is so high for you.
I know.
And it's
I was
higher than Revolver.
fucking surprised. That's the one that blew
Damn.
my mind more than anything.
Shit. Okay, so then my number 4 is Magical Mystery Tour, their 9th record. This is the album where you can tell they're transitioning out of the psychedelic, the trippiness. They're starting to go back toward the more pop oriented rock, and it's great. It's really great. It's like the opposite end of Rubber Soul. Like it's crazy how these 4 records were just, they go hand in hand in like telling like a weird story. And this is just a perfect way to transition out of the psychedelic era. Like Rubber Soul was the perfect introduction into the psychedelic era. So I just the tail end of it was it's so good. This record just is fantastic. My favorite song is "Baby You're a Rich Man." It keeps up with the trippy stuff, but it's like one of the catchiest parts, one of the catchiest things on this record. And the guitar playing is fantastic. The guitar tone is fantastic. I think this is a killer record, absolutely killer record. And it really, I never really listened to it until probably like a year ago, maybe. And yeah, it's really good. And then come to find out, it's not like an actual album; it's 2 EPs. But whatever, we still ranked it.
Yeah.
So
this is more of an album than fucking Yellow Submarine.
Oh yeah, oh totally. I think it's more of an album than fucking White Album.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, Magical Mystery Tour is my number 4. So what do you got for number 3?
Number 3, Rubber Soul, album of the week.
Are you serious?
Rubber Soul.
You're such a cock, man. Okay, so my number 3 is this one. This one was tough because my 2 and 3 go back and forth often, but right now my number 3 is Revolver. Their 7th record. I mean, we touched upon it. This was just probably the trippiest thing that they've ever done. The trippiest record they've ever put out. It's kind of all over the place. There's only a couple songs on here that are pretty traditional Beatles sounding, and that being Yellow Submarine and then Taxman. But my favorites are Taxman and Tomorrow Never Knows. Those, I mean, very George Harrison. Taxman is a George Harrison song, and Tomorrow Never Knows that's straight up Harrison as well. It's so fucking weird. But I love his guitar playing in Taxman it's so catchy, and it's like I can't even explain how it. I can't explain how it goes. You just have to listen to it. It's so extremely catchy. I love that song. So Revolver is my number 3. So what do you got for number 2?
Okay, this is crazy for me. I was blown away. I was blown away by the Magical Mystery Tour.
I can't believe that.
I don't know if I'm just like I'm now like a so much of a deadhead that anything that even resembles anything in the realm of that, because this whole Magical Mystery Tour is based around like Ken Casey and like the touring bus that he did, and they want to do something like that in Europe, and like that bus was the house band for those acid trips in Frisco was the Grateful Dead, but before they were called like the Warlocks, and like there's so much history to that. And the Beatles, you know, when the Beatles they dropped acid, like the Bloodhound Gang song says, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on, and I've had this album in my hands twice. Both times because of buying lots and stuff. Both times I passed on it because the booklet was not intact. I wanted like the booklet in the middle to be intact. And so I passed on it, and I ended up selling it for each one for like $20. So I made it like good money off of them. But now I'm gonna be on the lookout for it. This is I think some of their biggest and most iconic songs are here, and again, like the story, the movie, which I wanted to rent and buy this week, but it was expensive, and of course YouTube didn't have a full like watching thing through and through. It was broken up into songs, and then some of the songs were kicked off of YouTube, so I didn't get to watch it. But everything just sounds so stupid. But it sounds like Tenacious D stupid, like when they did their HBO show. Like that was so good. But it's only good if you like Tenacious D, if you like that kind of darker comedy, if you like just very DIY, shittily written scripts. And that's what the Magical Mystery Tour, everything about it seems like. If they took all the stuff that they liked from Sgt. Pepper's, but then they wanted to start writing pop songs again, which is fine. And they did that. This is a kind of pop album, but with serious Sgt. Pepper undertones. And fuck, this album was so good. This was like the biggest shock of the week for me.
I can't believe that. That's to rank it higher than Rubber Soul.
It was tough. I felt weird doing it. Like I put Rubber Soul, and then I put I highlighted it in red to say maybe, and then put like maybe next to it. But it never passed Magical Mystery. Never did. But Fool on the Hill. I think like Fool on the Hill into Flying, like both of those back to back. Like Fool on the Hill, it's great. It's a ballad song that really doesn't take itself way seriously, and it's very stripped down and it's just well written. But Sergio Mendes and the Brazil 66 did a version of that also. When we first started collecting vinyl, I didn't realize anything. I didn't know anything about Sergio Mendes, and so I had like a 4-sider comp. It's like a 2 or 3 LP thing of all of their best songs. Fool on the Hill is one of them. There's a bunch of other Beatles songs that they do are really, really great. And so I think that's just ingrained in my mind. And I don't know, man. Magical Mystery was dope. I liked it a lot. It was good.
It is. It was a huge surprise to me as well when I got it. I got it from Nichols, actually. I think I got it for like 15 at Nichols.
Was the book inside intact?
No, I don't even remember. I could check.
There's like an 8-page booklet inside. I mean, it's not like a huge deal, but now that I'm on the lookout, I want it. And I feel like it's not that expensive record because nobody wants this shit. Everybody wants like the big 4 from the Beatles, and it's not this.
True. No, my copy's a newer copy, so it doesn't have the.
Is it a gatefold?
No. It's a gatefold, yeah. Oh. But it's newer because it has a barcode. But yeah, it doesn't have the. It doesn't have the booklet. No. Fucking great record though.
It's damn good.
Such a dumb cover too.
Oh, it's ugly.
I'm just looking at it right now.
Oh,
I haven't properly looked at it in so long.
It's like some fucking bullshit Teletubbies thing from the 60s. It's awful.
It's fucking terrible. Holy shit.
Like nothing about this album should be even worth its salt. Like everything about this is just such a dumb idea, but it seems real. It seems like all of the band members like, hey, dude, we should like also write like a movie kind of. And they did it, and it was shitty, much like Tenacious D, like The Pick of Destiny. It does not get good reviews. Like The Pick of Destiny is not like people's favorite fucking movie. But if you just sit down and watch it and enjoy it for just being a fun movie, it's great.
It is.
I think that's what Magical Mystery Tour was probably like.
Yeah, I
don't take it too seriously.
Any of the Beatles movies. I really have not watched any of the Beatles movies. I wanted to.
Oh, dude, you should.
Friend of the pod, Alicia, she used to be obsessed with the Beatles, and she used to watch those movies all the time. She was obsessed with the Beatles movies.
You should at least watch the video portion or whatever for Fool on the Hill. It's just like the movie footage of that. Oh, dude, it's so bad.
All right.
Maybe I'll buy it on DVD, and the next time you come over, we'll watch it.
I'm totally down for that.
It's not even an hour long. It's like 45 minutes long. It's so short.
Let's do it. I'm down. I'm totally down. Oh, boy. Okay, so that was your number 2. Yeah. My number 2 is Sgt. Pepper's 8th record. This one, I mean, we did this on the pod a long time ago, and this is the pinnacle of their psychedelic stuff. I would argue this is probably one of their, if not their most popular record. It's always listed as like number 1 or 2 on the best of all times, and rightfully so. This is when you think you're getting like more poppy, they just like throw a wrench in it and just throw in weird sounds or animal sounds, or it's just, dude, it's all, this album is all over the place, but it's, all the songs are so good and so catchy. My favorite song is Within You, Without You. But you know, songs like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, that song right there, it's so like, it's kind of like a disjointed song, the way it progresses, and the way the drums come in to transition between parts in that song shouldn't be good. It shouldn't make sense, but it does. And that's kind of how that entire record is. And just, I mean, we can go on for days about the recording of that album, because it was just so unique and so different for the time. But I mean, what the album did for music in general was very, very significant. And I mean, I don't really want to touch upon it too much, because we can go down a huge rabbit hole on that one. But yeah. Sgt. Pepper's, man, that's fucking an amazing record that never gets old. It'll never get old, no matter how many times I've listened to it. So that's my number 2, and I assume your number 1 is also Sgt. Pepper's.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to not put this as your number 1, and there are a lot of, I mean, like my top 4: Revolver, Rubber Soul, Magical Mystery, Now, and then Sgt. Pepper's. They're all in the same genre. They're all in the same era. They go hand in hand together. There's good things about some. There's better things about others. But Sgt. Pepper's is too iconic, like you said. It's too iconic. There's a lot of things that it did for music, and I'm not a big Beatles fan. I'm not, and more than half of their records are completely overrated, and this band still is pretty overrated. But Sgt. Pepper's is just one of those things, man, that just everything came together at the right time, and they worked really hard at this, and it came out as such. It's like studying for a test, and then you fucking ace it. Like, that's what happened with Sgt. Pepper's. Nothing bad to say. It's not the album of the week, so I don't like you said. I don't want to get into it too much, because it could be fucking 5 hours. So
yeah,
don't want to do it. But it's damn near perfect, if not perfect.
No, it is perfect. Sgt. Pepper's is perfect.
Well,
you just say it.
You just gave away your Rubber Soul ranking.
No, I didn't.
Hey, it did, because Sgt. Pepper's your number 2, Rubber Soul is your number 1. If Sgt. Pepper's is perfect, then therefore Rubber Soul has to be perfect as well.
It doesn't have to be.
My second favorite Beatles song is "Day in the Life." That's
really okay.
I mean, when we did the album too, like I've always loved my favorite Beatles song is from the album of the week, and "Day in the Life."
It's not "Hey Jude"?
No, that's my third favorite Beatles song is "Hey Jude," and then what's the other one I liked? "Let It Be."
Then "Let It Be." Yeah.
And then "Imagine."
So mad at you.
And then "Imagine" is my number 5. Yeah, but "Day in the Life," that's my second favorite Beatles song. Perfect song, love it. It's a perfect outro / semi-outro thing. I think it's a banger, man. It is a banger. I only have 2 on the vinyls. I have Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's. I've had Rubber Soul. I've had it twice already, but I want the UK. If it doesn't have Nowhere Man, I don't want it. It's trash.
Yeah, no,
to
I
me.
agree. The UK version is the superior one. It's the proper album.
Especially after this week, now that we're doing it, like there's no fucking way I will ever keep a US pressing of Rubber Soul. No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a US copy, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, my number 1 is Rubber Soul. So we'll get into that on the main episode. Thank you all for listening to the pod. Go to Apple Podcasts, go rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. And that's it. That's all.
No, David Jaffe.